The other day we finished upgrading the grounds of the Botanical Garden. Looks pretty cool. Look at all the flowers. We've got the beautiful creek flowing through there as well. There's been some questions in regards to the hot spring right over here. Some people are saying, I don't understand. How can this little pond of water feed the river that flows through the countryside and also the creek that flows through the Botanical Garden leading into the backside of the aviary where you have the waterfall and eventually leading to the canal as well. That's a hot spring. Look up hot springs in Iceland. They're crazy. They can just spit out so much water, but maybe we need to add some detail to it that makes it look like the water is naturally coming out of the ground. Now I'm just getting sidetracked, but check it out. I researched it when I got that question just because I wanted to know. Oh my gosh. A notable hot spring has a flow rate of 180 liters per second. But yeah, maybe we need to add some details to this water here that would represent the flow of 180 meters per second. That is insane. So I'm all cool with that because this is Lego and we can just use our imagination. Originally, this was going to be a mountain, right? And there's going to be a glacier up here and it was going to be glacier fed. But then I put the residential up here. So it sort of vetoed that idea. So it's like, okay, we can get rid of this beautiful stream that I've put all the way through the countryside and come up with a new plan, or we can put the glacier way over there and have the water flowing down all the way over here somehow. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, why don't we just put a hot spring? I think that's something cool. We can tell stories with minifigures, and I just think it's a neat idea. You know, you got the little pools of water down here. I think it's cool. Now I'm getting really sidetracked though. The other day when we built this diorama, I put the water on top of the mills. I didn't integrate the water right into the mills like I typically would. Like obviously I know how to do that. This river right here is all integrated right into the mills. That's why we have that depth effect. Same with this pond. It actually goes down a couple bricks and this little pool of water right there as well. And for some reason I decided not to do it with the Botanical Garden. And I think the reason for that is because this water is technically on top of the mills as well. Like that river that's flowing down the little mountainside there. But the reason it's like that here is because it would be very difficult to actually like integrate that right into the plate work because this is all like a big structure, like we have the Technic panels underneath. The pond up top is, but the creek unfortunately isn't. So it's like, okay, we did it that way over here. It's sort of on top of the mills. Why not do it right here as well, like do it the exact same way? But now, several days later, I'm starting to regret that decision because I think it would look better if that was actually blended right into the plate. So I think we're gonna rip apart that creek today and blend it into the mills. I'm sorry for the long intro here today. I just wanted to explain myself because in order to make these changes, I'm gonna have to rip all of this apart. So technically, I'm gonna be taking a couple steps backward today and we're not really gonna make any progress, but I think the before and after is gonna look pretty spectacular. So I think it'll be worth the time. Okay, before we begin this destruction here, oh my gosh, ripping apart this creek is gonna be rather interesting. I wanna talk about two pieces of critical feedback that I got when I officially revealed this project. The first one is the tiling here, so I continued the tiling using the light gray and dark gray. And somebody pointed out an inconsistency that there is 2 rows or 2 studs of dark or light gray right there. I said, hey, that doesn't match the original design. There's 2 studs of light gray. The reason it's like that is because now I have a stud of green going around the planters there in the original set. See the reddish brown rounded plates and then it goes green. Whereas if I were to bring that row of tiling back to keep it consistent, the light gray tile would go right up against those planters and sort of underneath some of those leaves. And I don't think it would look that good. And if I were to bring it back, well then I would have to change up the position of those planters and it would get a lot tighter in there, which I'm not a huge fan of. So that's why we decided to compromise with the double row of light gray tile. Well, actually, you know what? I got more than 2 pieces of feedback. The other one was the benches. So there's a lack of seating areas. There is 6 benches scattered throughout. I think I forgot to point those out when I was doing my overview, but there's 2 right there and the 3rd right there. And then of course it's symmetrical. So we have benches located in the same locations on either side. I do have some more benches of that same design already built. And I could add some more benches along the walking path, which is above the bird aviary right here. I plan on doing that, so thank you. The other two pieces of feedback is that there's too many green studs. I need to add more flowers. I just think that if I add too much, it might become a little bit overwhelming. I do like having some green space, but yes, maybe we could in some of these wide open spaces, like right there, also right there, and then over here. And there's an additional 4 studs on the platform covering. I was planning on tidying all this up and doing something over here when we work on the platform coverings that have to be modified. And the other piece of feedback, the final one, was the water. Why didn't you blend the water into the mills? I don't know. I sort of explained that. All right, let's get started. Oh, but see, I'm not lying. Right beside my nail clippers, there's a couple more benches. So of course, the first thing I needed to do was just rip out the existing river. So I removed all of the green plate, all of the blue plate, and everything around the blue plate that was blending it in. And believe me when I tell you this, it was quite the process. There was a lot of destruction involved. I was just ripping it out, throwing the pieces into a bucket, just whatever, just rip it out. Let's get it out of there, get it out of there as quickly as possible. And you know what? A really bad decision that I made quite some time ago regarding buying certain pieces off Bricklink has definitely come back to haunt me many, many times. If you know, you know. So here we have my temporary part bins with the blue plate, also corner plates, some of the translight blue tiles, some green brick, miscellaneous colored stuff, slopes, all of the mills work, that being the 1x2s and 2x2s, miscellaneous green plate, the trail, like the cobblestone walkway, stepping stones, I guess, and then some vegetation, sort of like the pre-built stuff that I had to get out of the way while causing all of this destruction here. So the next thing I'm doing is putting my green border in. So there's a little bit more destruction that has to happen. See all these colorful bricks coming out? They've got to be replaced with green, and they've also got to move inwards. So this, for example, has to move in like that, just like I've done over here. Now if I take a 4x4 green plate and put it down like that, well then I have a green border along the creek. I just don't have enough space to not do that. I need that green border there just in case a little bit of it is exposed. So yeah, that's why I'm doing that. It's a little more destruction because all of this has to be removed and all of this has to be removed, and then you got to get the brick under there, and this is sort of like jagged, so that's a little bit harder to get in there. And as I'm doing it, I've got to remove other stuff like the fountain. Would have been a lot easier to do it like this in the first place, but hey, you know what? Build, destroy, repeat. That's what we're all about here on this channel. Alrighty then, everybody. There we go. It's all blended in, looking pretty sweet. Dug right down to the base plate. We've got that green border. So now we're not going to see any colorful bricks, and there's going to be no gaps between like the details that we're going to use to blend in the like odd shape that we have going on here. It's pretty like jaggedy at this point, but it'll get there. Believe me, when we just lay more bricks and slopes and all those fun details. It also feels pretty good to get this fountain back up and operational. Yeah, I didn't like peeling all those tiles out of there, but it had to be done in order to make the changes. But I feel like this is a pretty good start, and now it's time to move on to the next stage, which of course is water detail. So the first step for water detail is, of course, to add all the blue plate. Now I decided to fill in the entire area, so it goes right up against those green bricks. The reason I did that is because now when I take a brick or a slope, or whatever it may be, and I put it in there, it's at the same height as the mills plate, because the plate is just underneath. I think it's just going to make it easier to work with. Also, it's not going to bury the slopes. So for example, if I put a slope right there, and I put a tile up against it, it's not going to bury that slope, if that makes sense. So that's the way I like to do it. Now I can just lay a whole bunch of parts all in here to try and round this off, get rid of these jagged edges, and just add that nice detail. And of course I'm going to do that before adding the tile, because if I did tile right up to the edge, well then I'd be like plucking out all these tiles so that I could make room for the slopes. So layer number 1, the blue plate. Layer number 2, the details around the edge. Layer number 3, the tile. I forgot about one more layer though, everybody, and that is the 4th layer, and that of course is the vegetation that will go over top of the water tiles. because I've got all like the slopes and G-slopes and curve slopes and all those different things along the edge, which sort of blends it in a little bit. But now after adding all of like the water tile on top, I'll have to go around and fill in some of the studs that I leave open along the river bank with like different vegetation, like the bamboo and the little leaf elements and stuff. Helps blend it in a little bit more, and it also just adds vegetation, which is good. But I like this because I was able to mix in more colors. We've got like the dark bluish gray, light bluish gray, also some of like the dark tans and olives and stuff, and the dark greens like along the bank there. So I think it looks a little bit more natural, and we've got that depth effect, which is way better than having it like on the mills, like just night and day. But the water tiles truly do bring it to life. It looks like really blotchy right now, but when we start adding water details, it helps blend that in. You can even see that I've started adding some of the water detail to the little waterfall right there. But of course, that's the next layer there. We're just going to fill in this whole thing using the transparent light blue elements like the 1x1 studs and the 1x2 tiles. So who remembers what this looked like before? Well, if you don't, I took a before video, and here it is. So yeah, that river there, it needed some work. I'm not a huge fan of how it was just like plopped down on top of the mills and blended in using all of those plates. Let me tell you, the after looks a lot better, and here we go. So to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of changes to this area right here. However, I did add some fun little details. I found one single bumblebee print piece. It's the circular clear tile, and then I found some ladybugs as well. So I popped some ladybugs around the botanical garden. But look at this. Wow. Yeah. That looks a lot better. Of course, I reinstalled all the existing details, such as all of the flowers, the stepping stones going over top of the river, and then you'll probably notice that I filled in the green space as well with just more flower elements. Use the leaves and flowers, and it just sort of fills it in nicely, just adds in some color. You know what? I think it is better than just green, isn't it? Yeah. You know what I need to find more of? I need to find some more frogs, and there's also another comment suggesting that I add like a hawk flying above. I don't know if I want to add seagulls. I don't think this is a seagull vibe over here, but maybe if I can find a hawk. I know there's a hawk flying around the mountain to the left of it, just below the hot spring, but maybe I can find another one. Also, I got to find more frogs, but look at that. The difference is incredible. That looks so much better. Was it worth the day's effort? Absolutely it was. Okay, I think the pink frogs pop. Maybe the green ones would blend in too much. I also added another critter right over here, a chameleon. How cool is that piece, hey? You ever seen one of those? Also up here, a hawk coming in after the chameleon. Uh-oh. I used one of those bar elements and also a transparent headlight brick, and I put a 1x1 transparent stud with the hole in the bottom of it so we can put it at the angle there. It's coming in for the chameleon. Uh-oh. Okay, let's place it in the city. Oh, actually, first off, did you notice I upgraded this as well? Changed up the archway. Made it all tan, and I put those fancy curved slopes on top. And look at the squirrel. He's got a nut. So there we have the new and improved Botanical Garden grounds placed here in the city. Looking pretty sweet. Love it. You know, this just goes to show you that no Lego project is ever done. There's always improvements that you can make. There's always changes that you can make. And that's just the beauty of Lego, right? Like you can always, I don't know, just change the way that things are done and add more parts to it and add more details, add more minifigures, whatever it may be, and completely transform the area. Somebody was mentioning they don't like the white guardrail as well. Maybe we should change it to dark bluish gray or light bluish gray. I just thought there was a lot of dark bluish gray, light bluish gray in this area already, so that's why I went with white. I think nougat would be the optimal choice, but whatever I do here, I'm also going to have to do along here because there's a guardrail going all the way over there to where we have the sloped road. So I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do. There's also a few other things that I need to work on. Once again, that water. So there's some people saying just make like a spout. I can't remember what they called it, but have it just go underground and then pop out here and have like a water bursting out or something. That would be really cool. So I'll probably run with something like that. Haven't quite decided yet. There's still some things that I need to smooth over as well in regards to alignment. I mentioned that in the previous video, and of course I'm just going to blend it in using various pieces, but where should I go from here? I feel like this project is officially done. I just added another day to it. So now it's a 4-day project just to get the grounds done, but totally worth it. I'm thinking I should jump up here. I've mentioned that before too. I should definitely clean this up. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, maybe clean that up, work on some of these green spaces in front of the zoo. But also I feel like I should hop behind the botanical garden and work on the residential area as well. I don't know. I guess I'll decide in the near future. But as always, everybody, thank you so much for all of your positive criticism and your positive comments, and just thank you so much for viewing as well. I hope you enjoyed this update. I know I sure did. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff coming out in the near future. Farewell.